Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this roundtable. My name is Gloria Lázaro. I work at the Joint Secretariat of the Interreg SUDOE program, and I'm delighted to be today here with you and the 5 speakers that are with me for this session. They are working on different projects, transnational projects, and we will be able to listen fruitful and insightful remarks from them. And we will start with Amélie Bresson, then with Magali Gérinaud, ensuite avec Jérôme Armand. Sorry, I switched in French. Then with Eider de la Cruz, and then with Xavier Cancela. So we will speak about different matters, from regulation to practical implementation for water reuse. And we will start with the legal aspects after listen about the projects. Then we will talk about practical implementation, environmental and health aspects, and economic and social aspects. So if you are ready, we will be happy to listen from you about what is the central or the main objective of your projects, from Amélie, the Target project, from Magali Solawa, from Jérôme, Water for Reuse, from Eider Sudwama, and from Xavier, Airy Water. So we'd like to know a bit more about your projects. Please, Amélie.
Did you hear me? Thank you. Actually, the Target project examines several barriers to the development of water reuse, both technical and socioeconomic. For example, regarding the challenge of ensuring adequate water quality through low-cost treatment of pesticides, or, for example, regarding the challenge of facing the prohibitive cost of projects by shifting the focus of analysis on the value of positive externalities. But our starting point was rather the opportunity to integrate water reuse into broader strategies for preventing water shortages. So water reuse is viewed as one piece of a larger puzzle. And we wondered what method can be used to plan the use of unconventional water resources without losing this sight of this objective. And to answer this question, we focused in particular on the scale issue, shifting from the watershed scale or aquifer scale to the wastewater treatment plant level. And we also worked on tools for assessing current and future situation and tools for facilitating stakeholders' engagement. We are convinced that these methodological approaches can help overcome a lot of obstacles that we mention these days.
Thank you, Amélie. So if we move to Solawa project, and Magali, could you tell us more about your projects and the main barrier and greatest opportunity for scaling water reuse too, please?
Yes, okay, for the mic. So just a reminder about the Solawa project, because I just explained it with a talk this afternoon before. So this project is focusing on the adoption of nature-based solutions, technologies in the trains for the water recycling in rural area. And the main achievements are the building of 3 demo sites. One is in Extremadura, near Badajoz in Spain. The second is near Lisboa in Portugal, with the management of Água de Tejo. And the third is in Pyrenees, Ariège, in the territory of the Service des Eaux du Couserans. So there are 3 demo sites, including planted filters and IoT for the connections. So, and the third, the second achievement is about strategy based on nature-based and water-oriented living labs for the application of fit-for-purpose strategy. Means we begin to ask who is needing additional non-conventional water, and we start from the need to build the demo sites, and that turned out to be a successful strategy. So we advise that.
Okay, thank you. So what about the Water for Use project?
Yes.
Jérôme?
Yes, can you hear me? Very good. So I'm very pleased to be here. I would like first to say that a cost action is not a research action. So it's very important to understand that this is before all a place to exchange. This is actually the oldest program of Europe, of research in Europe. And the objective is to make the people meet together and exchange about their knowledge and know-how. In this cost action, we try to mainstream water reuse in keeping in mind that, as we understood here, is not a question of technical, but also of making all people exchange. We have now about 650 people in the action from 40 countries, so it's something which is bigger than Europe, actually, and we have people from other countries. And we try to solve the problem, not solve the problem, but trying to identify why it may work somewhere and why somewhere else it doesn't work. So we identify the conditions under which we can develop and apply water reuse.
How about the Sudwama project, Eider?
Okay, in that case, Sudwama project, I don't know if that's what.
So,
You can hear, yes, okay, it's okay, perfect. In that case, Sudwama project, the objective is to promote the sustainable circular water management in institutional building and urban environment. So in that case, the project combines different activities. There is a regulatory analysis and stakeholder engagement, and also the pilot demonstration and the citizen awareness, also different activities for that. And the idea is to explore innovative ways of reusing this rainwater, grey water, and black water that you have here in the other project also. So for that, we had 4 pilots. One in the Basque Country, close to San Sebastian, in Madrid, and in Estia, that is in Biarritz, close to Biarritz, and the last one in Coimbra. And the idea is to reduce the water consumption, increase resilience, and change the use of the water and try to reuse that and give them another use.
Xavier, what about the Irie Water project?
Thank you, Gloria. Thank you to everybody to stay here. In relation to Irie Water Sudoe project, the main goal is to help agriculture adapt to climate change by using reclaimed urban water for irrigation. We are testing this approach in 15 pilot sites across Spain, Portugal, and France, as you could see in the previous exposition during the Congress. We studied the effects on the crops, the environment, and farm economics. Our final goal is to create practical tools and a common strategy for safe water reuse across the region. In our opinion, the main barrier is the combination of complex regulations and limited public acceptance. Water reuse projects See? Okay. Sorry, but the microphone is out. Water reuse projects require a strong monitoring system, investment, cooperation between different sectors. Some people are also still concerned about the safety of using reclaimed water in fast productions. The main opportunity is greater resilience to drought and water scarcity. Reclaimed water can reduce pressure, freshwater resources, and help protect groundwater. It also contains nutrients that can reduce fertilizer use and lower costs for farmers. And in short, water reuse can support both environmental sustainability and agricultural competitiveness.
Thank you, Javier. Very interesting projects and very different. So I propose that we move on the first topic about the legal questions and the legal aspects. And the question for you will be that are current regulation enabling or slowing down the adoption of reclaimed water in agriculture and urban areas? And what regulatory changes are still needed from your point of view? So if you can start, please, Magali.
This is the second question, right?
Yes, the second one.
Okay, about the legal aspects, right? Okay. Well, there are several points we could highlight about that. The first one probably is about the barriers that are included in the policy to make the water available for the different users. Probably we could increase the use of this barrier, make them more visible and used over the territories. The second one is about this point that was mentioned this morning about the different policies to make them more complement each other between the water quality policy for the water quality in the river and the one used for the reuse in the agriculture. I mean, if the policies are making sense and they are trying to minimize the risk, that we all agree with that, because there is this discrepancy from the field, from the farmers. They don't understand why such a restrictive law about the reuse. So I think it makes reluctancies happening for the reuse. I think, and the third point is about these pathogens, pollution that is rising and taking all its visibility in this new policy for the reuse. That makes sense, and probably this is a good point, but we have to get used with that, to get the laboratory facilities to make the water analysis that get with, but we'll manage about that. This is just a question of time. We'll manage.
Thank you. And Jérôme?
Yes. first of all, I would like to say that after only 2 years of project, the action is for 4 years. We have organized it in 5 different working groups, and one working group is specifically dedicated to everything related to legal aspects, social human sciences and economics. After 2 years of activity, we come up with the first conclusion that even if the regulation, the European regulation for agriculture reuse has not been has been adopted, many countries have just refused until now to apply it. So there are, if I'm right, 7 countries at least in Europe which decided not to apply it. So the first question was, why did the country not apply it? And in most of cases, this was because they simply do not need water. They have enough water, and so they don't want to reuse water. But in these countries, the very interesting point is that people on one side tell you, we do not need this water, but we know that we will need it. So that's something very important for me, because the opposite of what happened in many countries where they just have no choice. This country will have the choice, and they do many studies in order to know exactly what to do and what not to do. And that's important for me to take the time to do this, and then it gives them the time to know exactly what they have to do. In other countries, like in France, for example, the objective of, let's say, going forward, it's a kind of paradox, but going forward makes that there are many texts, many decrees on many uses, and the regulation has just, let's say, became a kind of mess. It's very complicated today, and there are many, not in agriculture because the things are clear there because of the European regulation, but on all other uses, it has become very complicated. And this is probably our next step in the action. We still have 2 years on these specific legal aspects. We will try to meet the right people at the right place in order to simplify the things and uniformize, how do we say, homogenize, thank you, Magali, homogenize the regulation in order to have something much clearer and which can be really available for mainstreaming this practice within the whole water management.
Thank you, Jerome. Very interesting. It's true that as you are working in a very huge project, you can have the feedback from different countries. And I think that is a very good point to know that there are countries that there are no choice, and others that will prefer to learn from others. So, okay, thank you. And Eider, how about you?
Okay, in our case, it's not in agriculture, it's in building or the reuse of the water in buildings. So in our case, in the project, we are analyzing also these different kind of regulations. And it's supposed that we go in the right direction, but especially for centralized wastewater. And in our case, we are trying to do different things in the decentralized reuse. So in that case, we think that we find different barriers that exist in this system, in the decentralized reuse in buildings. So in my opinion, what we need is a more integrated regulatory that support innovation also while while ensuring public health protection also, because there is something new, innovative things, and risk-based approaches, harmonizing technical standards and clearer guidelines for this decentralized system also. And it will be possible accelerate also the implementation of this kind of system in buildings or in urban environments. Okay. But we are also working on that in the project, so we must check.
Great. Xavier?
No.
Hola. Okay. In our opinion, the current regulations support water reuse by setting clear safety standards, but they can also slow implementation because compliance is often expensive and complicated, as was mentioned during the conference. The EU water reuse regulation is an important step because it creates a common safety framework. However, as mentioned by Jeroen, there are different adoptions at different countries in Europe. This is a question that may be difficult to the application or the implementation to smaller operators in some cases due to the restricted parameters to monitoring in continuous. No? Obviously, to accelerate the adoption of this legislation, we need to simplify administrative procedures. In the case of Spain, for example, it's a long time to obtain the final license to could apply. In Portugal, it's something similar in some cases. This is a problem. Obviously, more financial support for infrastructure and coordination between countries could be facilitate adoption. And finally, we also need regulation that address new challenges that could maintain the farmers and the water managers in an easy way to implement the use of this type of water.
Okay, your turn, Amélie.
The most important factor, according to the target stakeholders, is that regulations remain stable. For their point of view, regulations are necessary, and it's easier to plan when the regulatory framework is in place. For instance, in France, now that the rules have been clarified for almost all uses, it is important that this regulatory framework remain consistent and be widely understood, interpreted uniformly by all stakeholders across the country. So the challenge is to eliminate ambiguities and clearly communicate on what is permitted for the target project.
Okay, great. Well, I think that we have a common point: coordination, time, and different levels of adoption and different key points of information that are needed to implement the policies and to move forward on this topic. So you are working on different projects who have started years ago. The last one, I think, is Sudwama. So I would like to know from you what key lessons have emerged from pilot projects, from your pilot sites, and real implementations of water reuse and cities and agriculture. So, Jérôme, I know that your project is a bit different, but we would like to hear from you what is your point of view for the pilot case that you could share with us.
Yes, in fact, the pilot scale experimental sites and so on are really at the center of very important work we are doing now, because we try, there is a task which is dedicated to the identification of all projects, important reuse projects, that have not worked. Actually, it's not only the successful stories that we are looking for, but big projects that have been aborted, and we'll look for such projects in order to identify why they have mostly aborted. The reasons are maybe very different from the economy, the viable economy, or because a private company has just stopped the project because they have they do not have any solution anymore, and so on. There are many cases where it could just stop the problem. So we have this action. If we are interested with projects, let's say, more than 1 million euros, because we want big projects. And we would like you to just let us know your and give your return on such project that you can just give us informations. Either they are successful, but also who have been aborted, and then we have a questionnaire that we will send you. And at the end, we would like to be able to provide maybe not guidelines, but at least what should not be done, or at least how to avoid that such project can be just aborted. We have this action now.
And did you receive a lot of feedback?
Alfonso, who is in charge of these, has left, so I cannot tell you, but if I'm right, we have about 50, 60 returns right now, and we have the objective of studying these before the end of this year.
Okay.
Question, so but with such a high price, this is not possible to include green solutions?
Maybe big green solutions, but that's a good remark. But the problem is that we can easily get access to all European projects because they are in the European databases. But the problem is at the national level, we don't have many projects, so that's at this level we need. Now, if you have a project which is much smaller, but you have every information, either it is successful or not, come back to us and we will...
Okay, good to know.
Yes,
Thank you for the position.
No problem.
A very good idea to learn from the unsuccessful projects. I think that we can learn a lot and move on like this. Eider?
In our case, we have just one year of project, but it's true that there is something that we have learned. It's clear that a successful implementation requires much more than a technology. No? It's important also the governance, the stakeholder engagement. These kind of things are important also to manage with the project. In our pilots, we are testing different water streams, including rainwater, grey water, and black water. And for example, in the Basque Country, we think that's innovative because we would like to explore how to, with biological treatment, only biological treatment, try to reduce this black water for hydroponic fertigation. So we would like to close the circle and try to reduce the black water like that. So we will see. And in Estia, in Biarritz, they will explore also the rainwater, and in Coimbra with the grey water. So we will see. We have started just right now with the pilot, so we will see how it's going, but they go properly. And also we think that it's very important, this kind of pilot project, because with that generate operational data, because sometimes there are innovative projects, so there isn't any data of that. So for that reason, it's important, the pilot projects, and also to demonstrate that they are safety, and also build confidence with stakeholders, public authorities also, and create evidence for the future policy development, for example. So I think that it's important.
We will wait your results. Xavier, maybe you can tell us a bit more, because the Airy Water project is well advanced, and please let us know about your pilot sites.
Yes, really we have two growing seasons of studies in 15 maximum pilots. For a reason, we have one of the more important conclusion is that we need to focus case by case, because as was shown during the reuse event, we have cases, for example, in tomato and in olive in Andalusia, that they have different water with more nutrients applied with the well water and no with the reclaimed water. That is just some very strange, but is the real thing. And then other many important question is that the cooperation between all the farmers, the authorities, and so on, has crucial to could obtain good data, to could manage in a correct way the water reuse, and obviously to obtain a reduction of the fresh water or the conventional resources, to guarantee the availability of the crops in a future with several droughts and the climate change that all people know. This is the most relevant, I think so.
Okay, thank you. Amélie?
In Target, we learned several lessons from our pilot projects and larger benchmark, and I will highlight 3 of them. So first, we think that it's necessary to assess the opportunity of reuse projects, and we thought that it comes before the feasibility study. In some cases, it has been observed that water reuse facilitates the emergence of new water uses, thereby exacerbating the risk of water shortages and increasing the vulnerability of water uses. And for example, we try to avoid it in the case of Le Grand Périgueux in France. Not really original lesson, but we thought that the obstacles to the water reuse development are not so technical, they are socioeconomic. For example, in our different cases, we have nature-based solutions, or for example, Portuguese work on low-cost treatment for pesticides. But on the other hand, we validate that in the 3 countries of our project, most projects are really dependent on significant public funding, and users rarely pay the true cost of water for treatment and transport. So we need to continue to innovate in cooperation models. And thirdly, to improve the capitalization of pilots, we assess that it is important to understand and share the history of implementation and the evaluation data from each existing case, and particularly about economic parameters. So it would be helpful to have guidelines specifying the key data and indicators that should be collected, and that's why I think we are sharing together in this case, in this type of events, to give guidelines with different manners, but it's the aim, I think.
Thank you very much. And Magali?
Yes, we have been building pilots, demonstrators, demo sites of nature-based solutions in Solagua, but we have been working before on other pilots in Vietnam, and they are very powerful, especially in the field of nature-based solution, to build confidence. You know, I think this is one of the barriers, to make the end users more confident on the capacity, efficiency for water purification. So with real data and water provisioning it participates in the building of a community of confidence in these green technologies. So that's why we have been including those achievements in Solagua, and we'll keep on going, trying to build a network of demo sites, connected demo sites that will make it possible to exchange data in between each others, and maybe there will be possibilities of emerging intelligence coming from that type of networks of demo sites. Let's see what the future will give us.
Thank you, Magali. Well, you were talking about confidence. I think that this is the perfect point to address the third block, in which I would like to hear from you the environmental and health aspects, and how, from your point of view, can we balance the environmental benefits of water reuse with concerns about health, soil quality, and long-term ecosystem impacts. So I will ask Eider to start sharing your thoughts about this point.
Okay, the question is very long. We haven't got a lot of information related with that, but more or less, for us in that moment, the key is the monitoring, and also the risk management. I think that with that, both steps are important in this way, and also combine the treatment technologies with continuous monitoring of water quality parameters, such as pH, conductivity, nutrients, microbiological indicators. These kind of things helps in this way, and this allows us to ensure environmental benefits while minimizing health risks. So for that, I think that we think that in the project that is very important to check and to analyze this water quality during the project in different pilot sites. And also I think that the principle that we must maintain is that using the right water quality for the right application while maintaining public trust and environmental protection is the way to consider or to get this balance environmentally and healthy.
Perfect. What about you, Xavier?
Thank you. Hello, thank you. In our case in Air Water, we try to develop a monitoring system to continuous measurement to the conditions in the soil. Obviously not related with the pathogens and something like that, because we have no money to could develop this type of measures in continuous, but we have developed the measure of continuous parameters of soil water content, electrical conductivity, and other parameters that could offer us information about the status of the soil water condition. This is one of the key points to could obtain a key balance between the environmental or the risk that we have in the soil. That is one of the factors that we have monitoring in depth in not only the soil. Obviously, we have information about the water quality in terms of the regulation that established the monitoring continuous. But we think that this aspect is very important. If we have information, continuous information, good quality data, we can obtain good management of the water resources to try to show to everybody the benefits in general with our 15 action pilot that is with different cases, and different crops.
Solid base of knowledge with 15 pilot sites and all this information. You are building a very solid base of knowledge. So I think that, yes, monitoring is very important.
Yeah, the information is now about 2 years completely in the different sites, but in some cases we have only information from only 1 year, but we have a second season in course. and we will try to maintain these equipment to continue with the measure and analyze the long-term effect in the soil, taking measures not only during the life of the project. We will try to obtain information maybe 5 years in front and 10 years in front to analyze the pathogens, for example, that are accumulated in the soil, for example.
Amélie, what about the target project?
On this point, the target strategy is clear. Environmental issues must be subject to an in-depth analysis during the reuse feasibility study phase at a territorial level. Regarding health risk for reclaimed water, more so than for raw water, these are managed through the risk analysis and management plan, which monitors water quality throughout the period of use. And for example, in the target project, we have the Granollers pilot in Catalonia, designed with the Polytechnic University of Catalonia, which is designed to a real-time alert systems to be able to shut down the system in the event of an unexplained deterioration in water quality. So this can help build confidence in reclaimed water also. Regarding soil risks and long-term impacts, unfortunately, the risks associated with the accumulation of persistent pollutants are not specifically linked to water reuse. In targets, I said that we work on finding low-cost solutions to treat, for example, pesticides. But reducing pollutants at the source is also an important area of focus, and that's why we propose to put this solution in a larger strategy of sustainable water management. So once again, water reuse has regulated right now in the European Union ensures that this practice is more closely monitored than few others relying on raw waters, for example.
Magali, what about solar water?
Yes. You know, I come from an environmental science laboratory. I've been studying aquatic environment for 30 years. And we fight a lot last century, that makes me so young, last century for the environmental discharge in the rivers. So I'm very happy to listen to concern about that discharge maintaining in the rivers and not to get too much water collected for the reuse. But there is a nice bunch of indicators for the water quality that are already available, and there is also networks of monitoring of this water quality all around Europe, that is in the European directive, that they monitor every year this water quality in every single water bodies around Europe. And in fact, the main streets of the water quality is about wastewater effluents, you know, that bring still, even if they are performant, it still bring pollution. It's particularly about micropollutants in the rivers that affect all life, all aquatic life in the river. So from our point of view, removing a part or even all these effluents from the river is a good point, in fact. It's a good point. It should lead to improvement of the water quality in the rivers. So, and yeah, of course, it's transfer this pollution in the soil. So this is another place where this pollution will arrive. But the soil is a barrier in between the next water reservoir that the underground water that in the same time we need to provide to recharge. So from environmental science, again, it's taking this wastewater effluent from the river to the field is much better than having this effluent in the river. It's a myth. It's a phantasm to believe that we can have life, aquatic life in the rivers, only fed by wastewater effluent. I'm surprised this could be believed.
Okay. Jérôme?
Yes. About this question, I come from modeling and control. And in this field, the first thing you do is writing equations. And when you have written equations, you know exactly what you are talking about. The problem when you go to reuse equations related to these environmental and health aspects is that finally we always depend on something else. I have the impression that we always depend on something else. When I arrived in this field, I had the chance to speak to two kinds of people. People from the technology who tell you, hey, we know exactly how we can manage the quality of water. Just tell me the quality you want, and I give you the process to do it. Okay, very good. So it seems to me to be very simple. And then the same day, I spoke with people from risk analysis, risk assessment, and typically they tell you, oh, whoa, this is not so simple. Be very careful with these kind of emerging contaminants and so on and so on. So finally, it seems to me it's a kind of impossible compromise to come up with an ideal. So this is why we always say this is territory dependent, this is these case dependent, and so on. Within Water for Reuse, we have a specific working group working with these risk assessment questions. And their main result until now is that it is not true that we already have the technology and so on. There are many technologies that are now emerging in order to take advantage of the sun, of the natural capacity of microbes and so on. So this is a really ongoing process, and making let's say a real review and state of the art of these activity is a difficulty in itself. So we try to make a kind of review about which process can do what with respect to which kind of a contaminant family, but it's very difficult to go beyond these actually ongoing research, let's say. So this is what we are trying to do, working on plasma, working on new photocatalysis processes and so on. But it's a kind of mess to believe that we already have all this technology and that everything is under control.
Thank you. We need to learn. We need to keep on going, and we'll see. It's true that we need cooperation, and also, as Xavier said, we need funding. So let's move to the last part about economic and social aspects. From your point of view, we would like to know what economic and social conditions are necessary for water reuse to become a viable and widely accepted solution for farmers and communities.
Okay. In terms of economic, as I mentioned previously, the funding, the type of funding, and the funding case by case is a question that is obviously, and obviously we need to take into account the necessity of the access to this type of water reuse to maintain the field, the quality at the end. For the reason, I think so that my colleagues stem in depth about this aspect of economic, but in my case, I will to try to focus in the social perspective. As you know, during the event, all of you or many of you has tasted different beers made with the product obtained by the irrigated with water reuse. This is one of the aspects very relevant to obtain information to all people to know how is the product a secure product without the same quality, with no difference. For the reason the social aspect is very important, taking the people with information, with transparency during the whole project development, not only at the end or with confused information. We need to introduce this type of participatory elements during the development of these projects. Is our opinion.
Amélie from the Target project.
Yes. I think j'ai déjà parlé, non? Sur les aspects environnementaux. Sorry.
No, economic and social conditions.
Ah, sorry. Ok, j'étais en train d'écouter. Okay, thanks to an analysis of water governance in the three countries that has been presented yesterday, and which was led by our Andalusian partners at Amaya, we were able to confirm that the current economic and social structure is not really well suited to sustainably integrating water reuse into regional strategies to prevent water shortages. We are facing real socioeconomic challenges. On the economic aspects, we think that the protective principles of water pays for water is now showing its limitations. Reuse projects are very costly and entirely dependent on subsidies. So with CEREMA, the target project examined the conditions for cooperation among stakeholders, particularly between local governments and the private sectors. And in another hand, our Spanish partners at the Complutense University of Madrid are analyzing the public willingness to pay, and it is not really linked to the acceptability. It's quite different. So, and to finish from a social perspective, it appears that the challenge lies in developing more participatory approaches to promote political support and acceptability of projects. Experts and citizens are ready to collaborate, but involving them through participation and dialogue requires human resources, skills, and times. So that was confirmed on the Dordogne River basins with CEREMA and EPIDOR, and I think it's really important to keep in mind this challenge of participatory, because water is a common resource, and sometimes we focus on some users and we forget other stakeholders.
Great. Magali?
Yes, although I fully agree with what was said by my colleague, I just would like to add something about the rural territories. In fact, in Solagua, we struggle a lot to have the farmers involved in the living labs and around the table. To ask them for how they feel with. Finally, we manage, but I think it's something difficult. It's a challenge, and but it's really worth it to go through it, and then we'll have. I think we can. The reuse will be like a nice topic to rebuild this community, in between the science and the farmers. So I'm happy with that.
Okay, thank you. So we we are listening that we will need to take into account participatory approaches, but we have some difficulties to engage all the actors. So, Jérôme?
Within the Water for Reuse action, we try to address this question from a, let's say, generic question. Why should I reuse water? Is it because I will need money? Is it because I know it's a resource, a rare resource, and then I must go from linear to circular economy? Or is it because the regulation tells me to do it? And that's really this interplay of incentives which should help us to make some choices. So within the action, we try to move from, let's say, a situation where there is a parallel study between the technical studies and the social economical studies that are more often made in parallel with some interaction, but what we try to do is completely interlink them, notably through a working group dedicated to modeling. And we try really to model how incentives, whatever they are, a regulator, from the regulator, from the social or education, or the money, economic, and then we try to model that models in order to get some, let's say, decision support tools in order to advise people. That's what we are doing.
Thank you. Eider, from the Suwatma project.
I agree with all of them. I don't know if I can add anything else, but we have, I see like three aspects more or less. The first one is the economic incentives that are needed because all these many reuse solutions or innovative solutions require initial investment, so the economic part is there. The second is also the user must clearly understand the benefits of that. I mean, water reuse should be perceived not as an emergency measure, but as a reliable and strategic water resource. So it's a different change of mind of people, of general people. And also the social acceptance is important because citizens, building managers, stakeholders, local communities, all these entities need transparency, demonstration also projects and direct involvement in decision-making processes. So it's difficult, but it's like that. So it's part of the work. So we must continue doing that. So in your project combines all these aspects. For that reason, we have technical pilots, also these activities with the stakeholder engagement, awareness raising, and citizen participation in different activities to try to get and work together in different activities. But it's like that. We must continue on that.
Okay, very fruitful comments. Now we will try to bring all these different perspectives, and I will ask you to kindly give us in one sentence what is the single most important action needed over the next 5 years to accelerate the safe adoption of water reuse from the point of view of your projects. What will be in one sentence this point?
We try to resume. So empowering our ambitions, I mean by fostering collaboration to provide the financial resources as well as the human resources and time needed to ensure greater participation in the development of water management plants, sustainable water management plants.
Well, starting from the needs, I would go where it's the easiest way as a start to gather a community about the reuse, to know each other better in an interdisciplinary approach, like for industrial uses, for example, and then we will go for the irrigation. That is the main purpose, of course.
Magali, Jérôme?
Yes, nothing to add to what has been said already. Probably we have to believe that together we can come up with this big problem of resource, and the management be confident with our deciders to take the good decisions about how we can advise them to reuse and reuse water, but before all manage this water as a, let's say, instrument for peace and humanity. That's just a dream.
Thank you, Jérôme. Eider?
I propose transform all these pilot projects into clear regulatory frameworks and large-scale implementation programs that make water reuse a normal practice rather than an exception. So, to the action.
From the iRewater project?
In our case, the main question is open the mind, our mind, and the authorities' mind or ideas, because the restriction of applied water reuse in continental areas, in my opinion, should be changed. We need to study in detail. It's possible. It's not difficult, only not in all cases, but we need to try to advance in this aspect, because the final main question is that we need to take into account that the water reuse is another part of the mix of all possible water that the agriculture or other sector could be used to survive the agriculture. That is the main question related with the food in many cases. That's all.
Well, thank you very much. I think that we have key messages. We need to work together, to collaborate. We need also transparency from all the stakeholders. We need to be confident, and we need to open our minds, but also the policymakers' minds. And I think that it was a very fruitful roundtable. I enjoyed a lot, and I would like to sincerely thank you all for your kind participation and for the insightful remarks and comments, and to also to let us know the final results of your projects, because I think that there are very good initiatives, and there is very, very important to collaborate between different countries and different entities, and that allow everybody to learn from each other and to keep moving on and to learn. So thank you very much, and thank you also for your patience, and we will finish this session unless the next one to close the day. Thank you very much.